Sunday Adilaja here. Welcome to Kyiv, Ukraine. I am with London today with a very pretty Southern African lady. One of our most famous personalities on DSA family. One of the very most popular individual. If I mention the name, you're going to recognize her. But let me welcome you people first. We have Abiola here, Abiola Odojo, Vera Funsani, Olushola. Welcome, Rochelle White. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. May Orenuga, Toyi. Welcome. Akin Boboye, Samuel Abayomi. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. I think we are into a very interesting ride today because this lady here has an unbelievable story. And I would like you people to hear her story. It is compelling. It is absolutely mind-shifting. And I think this story and that testimony is going to inspire and going to give direction to a lot of people today. So here, ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Jane Munsaka. Jane Munsaka, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Now, I would like us to start with your story. Maybe we'll go back to your life story, but before we go to your life story, this topic, this message, this program today we titled it, I Stopped Going to Church and Started Saving Lives. That's what this is called. And the reason it's called like that is because something began to happen to you after your encounter with DSA. So how did you even hear about DSA first? Let's start with that.
It was on the 3rd of January 2017 when I stumbled on one of DSA's messages. At that time, I was really feeling low. I had gone to the crossover meeting on the 31st of December where everyone is looking forward to the new year. But I felt like I was feeling really down and thinking 2017 is coming and what am I going to be doing in 2017? You know, I've been going to church for years since 2006 and now it's 2017 and what is going to change? Actually, when I went to that crossover meeting, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel any kind of message. The message was a year of flourishing. But I kept on asking myself, what is flourishing? What does that mean to anyone? So on the 3rd of January, I was just lying on my bed and thinking over and over. And then someone sent me the live broadcast. So I thought, someone keeps on sending this live broadcast. Let me just go on and see what it is. And then I found out that there was a group of young students and DSA was teaching. Then I started listening. I didn't know what he was teaching about, but a lady, I think at that time DSA was asking the participants to say something about the message. And then when I clicked on the message, there was a lady who was talking about her sister who goes to church every time. And their sister came one day and told her, she's claiming the director's salary. And then that really caught my mind. And then the lady was actually saying, you know, she asked her sister, why is she claiming the director's salary without even doing anything? And then the lady referred to a message that DSA preached on the 1st of January, which was titled 15 Reasons Why We Pastors Must Change Our Messages in the New Year. So when she said that, I thought, how can a message change? What does it mean? What does this mean by the message must change? Why we pastors must change a message? So as the program was going on, I was thinking on that message, and I told myself that after this broadcast, I'm going to go and search for this message. Then when the broadcast finished,
15 reasons why we pastors must change our messages in the new year, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
So when the broadcast finished, I went to YouTube to look for that message. And I listened to it. Oh my God, it was, I mean, I was so touched. The things that JSA was talking about, why the message should change, we should stop about talking all these miracles. We should start teaching people how to develop themselves, how they can succeed. We should also stop giving the microphone to people, people just giving some miracles that really don't help people. So JSA was talking about a lot of things that I had seen in the church. And from there, I went back to that message, the original message that I clicked on, because when I clicked on that message, it was already halfway. So I wanted to listen to it from the beginning, what the student had learned, and what JSA was teaching them. JSA was teaching them about success, where he was saying, success is not just a finished product. You can't just, see success around. It has to be, you have to do some things, you have to do some processes, there are steps. Actually life is predictable. You will know when you have done something, you will know the steps that you have to take to get to the end product. From that day, actually from that very day, my mind changed. Actually, I think that's the day I actually left the church, on that day. Because after listening to those two messages, I knew I had nothing to do with church. I knew there was nothing the church could offer me that would make a difference in my life. I had been to church. All I had seen in the church was the spiritual, how the Spirit of God can do this and that for you. I had forgotten that actually I'm a human being. I can take steps. I can do things for myself. I had forgotten about how I grew up. Where I grew up, my father always encouraged me. He's my role model. He always told me to do things for myself, not to expect someone to do something for me. But when I got to church, all that went out of the window. I started expecting miracles. Every time I was going to church, it's about miracles. And JSA brought back my life. He brought back my life through his messages. Actually, I cried when I listened to those messages. And on that day, on the 4th of January, there was going to be a program which I was expected to attend for church. It was for leaders. And I was going to spend like probably £400 to go and pay for a hotel, to be in a hotel, and I didn't go for that meeting. God
had set you free.
I was set free on the 3rd of January 2017. Even though I was going to church, but that particular day was when I really got my freedom.
Yeah. Go ahead. So yes.
I was going to church because I have a daughter, a 17-year-old daughter. She sings. Every day, the more when I went to church, in fact, first my attendance dropped from that 3rd of January. My attendance dropped. My attendance to church dropped. I was very religious. We used to have services on Wednesday. I'll be the first one. I'll be there. Sometimes Fridays, if it's the last Friday of the month, we have to do all-night prayer. We also had cell meetings, and I had been the leader, a women's leader for years. So obviously, I have to make sure that meeting happens. But from the 3rd of January, I didn't do most of all those things. I told the pastor of the church that I'm not going to be leading the women again. And they asked me why. I said, because I'm not impacting their lives. I'm not adding anybody to their lives. And then the pastor said, well, these things are spiritual. You can't see the things of the spirit. Actually, you don't know how much you are impacting these women. I said, no, if I was impacting them, I would know. I've been doing this year in, year out. None of these women, I can't see anything. Actually, I can see my own life because obviously there are things that I do to make my life better, but I can't see anything in these women. And this is really discouraging me. Pastor tried to convince me. I said, no, there's nothing to convince me because I am not impacting these women and I'm not going to do it. I stopped going to the Wednesday services. Then I started the Sunday services. I started going maybe this Sunday, next Sunday I don't go. Every Sunday morning, we were supposed to wake up at 6 o'clock to do a prayer in preparation for the service. Leaders, you have to wake up at 6 and do a prayer. I stopped joining those prayers. All I did was I made up my mind that I am going to listen to DSA's messages. I'm going to join the broadcast morning and evening. And that's exactly what I did. Every time I went to church, on the days that I was going to church, I felt like anytime I was in there and sitting in the church and listening to people talking, I just felt something was very, very wrong. And the other thing that really saved me from that 3rd of January, I didn't pay my first fruits that year. So my money was saved, which I had been doing religiously. I remember in 2015, January 2015, I got paid my weekly salary. I took the whole salary to church. And what happened after that, because my mind was all about the spiritual. In that year, I think in that 2015, I got promotion. I got promoted twice in my job. And all that was attributed to that first fruit which I paid. But actually, it was because of my diligence, because of the things that I did. I am that kind of a person who, if I'm doing my work, I have to do it well. So I wouldn't cut corners. And I remember DSA in his message, who are those who win in life. DSA said something. He said, if you are diligent in your work, if you are in love with diligence, even even a wicked manager will promote you. No matter how wicked your manager is, if you persevere, if you do all those things, you will still get promotion. That manager will still promote you. That manager will still see you as somebody. And I knew those are the things I had done for years, but then I attributed them to the spiritual. It was all the message that Pastor preached on this day. This is what made me, or this is what gave me my promotion. Even when I was leaving the church, some of the questions I was asked is, oh, but how can you say the church is, they're not doing anything in church, but you got promotion. And, you got promotion by giving your seed, by giving your tithes. And I said to some people, if I had saved that money, probably I would be a millionaire by now. But that money is not there. It's gone. And actually, I worked hard. I know my job. I studied to get, to get some understanding of my job. So it's not really, God has already given me everything that I need. I already have everything. It's just for me to recognize those things. It's just for me to do what I need to do to get the results that I want.
But you are thinking that it is because of the offering, first fruits, tithe that is making you get a promotion.
DSA, actually, because I have been a leader in the church. And, when you're a leader, you're very influential. So anything that you say, people follow. If they believe you, if they believe in you. So I noticed that I'm quite influential. When I speak, people will listen. When I started listening to DSA, I actually had to call some people to apologize because I had been convincing them in all this false doctrine. When it's time to give I will call. I remember I have a good friend of mine. She lives somewhere now. She lives in another area. But when something is happening in church, maybe we need to give for something, I'll call her, I'll convince her, oh, you need to give, you need to come to church on that day that we are giving for this, we are giving for that. When I started listening to DSA, I actually had to apologize to people like that. To say, you know, obvious, this is a wrong doctrine. This doctrine is false. And I convinced you to do all these things, and probably you really didn't want to, but because I had influence over you, and you did those things.
What church were you going to? What church?
I used to go to Christ Embassy Church, one of the branches in the UK.
That is Chris Oyakilome's church.
Yes, Pastor Chris Oyakilome's church.
Yeah, their God there is Mammon. They worship money, Mammon.
Is when I was the last day I went to church to after I made up my mind that I'm no longer going to go to church anymore. I would just stay at home and listen to DSS messages. I went to church to meet the pastor, because the pastor was, when I started really not going to church, pastor had gone somewhere, I think, for a program. So when he came back on that Sunday, I decided to go and see him and let him know that I won't be in church. So what I said to him, well, he asked me also, well, what's the problem? You know, we can adjust the things. If there's anything that is wrong in the church, we can adjust things. I said to him, I don't think there's anything you can do in this local church. Pastor Chris needs to go back to the drawing board. He needs to go back and restructure everything. This is coming from above. This is affecting the whole ministry. It's not just a local church. And one question I asked him, I said, I have been in Christ Embassy since 2006, but all I have seen where Christ Embassy was and where we are now, it has drifted a lot. People are giving more to the church than what they're getting. And I don't think that is right. There are people who have been in the church expecting a miracle for years, you know, and nothing has happened. I got my indefinite leave to remain in the UK in 2011. After a year, I could have applied for my naturalization. But I couldn't do it because I thought I didn't have the money. Every month I was giving my tithes, but I thought I didn't have money to sort out my naturalization in the UK until 2014, when I changed my job. Because I thought the job I was doing wasn't, even though it's the same job, but the way I was getting paid, I thought probably if I join an agent, that will pay me more money, then I'll be able to do those things. But now I've realized that actually I didn't need to change my job. I did have the money, but I was giving the money to the church.
Wow.
And there are so many people who are still in that predicament. They give tithes, they give seeds and everything, but they can't put money together to pay some lawyers to get, you know, to get their papers to the Home Office and sort out their stay.
What about your? They were not teaching you about savings, about multiplication, investment.
TSA is all about giving. Your money can only increase when you give a seed. That's the teaching. That's the teaching I got from the church, and what actually made me to, you know, when I listened to GSA, I didn't have to check with someone else. I knew this was the truth. I knew on that day that this was the truth, and I took the messages, sent out to people around me. Everybody who listened to that message, any message that I sent them about DSA, they called me immediately. Where did you get this man? Where does this man live? Who is this man? Who is this preacher? All of them are on DSA platform. They join in the messages. They left church. They don't go to church anymore.
So, what was your background? You are coming from Zimbabwe? Or Zambia?
I come from Zimbabwe.
Okay.
From Matabeleland North Province. where they speak Ndebele, but I don't speak Ndebele. I don't speak Shona.
Oh.
I'm from another tribe, a small tribe, one of the minorities.
You don't? Okay, I thought you only had 2 languages there.
There are so many languages. I don't actually know how many languages there are, but there are so many languages. I can speak Ndebele, I can speak Shona very well, fluently. I learned Ndebele in school from primary to college, to tertiary education. I didn't learn Shona anyway, but I found myself speaking Shona one day. I can write it, but I didn't learn it in school or anything, but I can write Shona, I can speak Shona very well.
But those are the 2 official languages in Zimbabwe, apart from English.
Yes, those are the 2 major languages. But I think my language now is now introduced in schools. And there are other languages like Venda, Soto. There's so many other languages, actually. Quite a lot.
So what made you to leave? Okay, when did you leave England? I mean, when did you leave Africa?
I left Zimbabwe in 2003. My daughter was 2 years old, and now she's 17. So I left Zimbabwe to come to the UK to join my ex-husband. Came here, things didn't work out. In 2006, we broke up. I just felt I can't stay, it's not working, there's no point. So I decided to take my daughter. I started just living my life with my daughter. I didn't have anything, I didn't have a stay, I didn't have my social work degree. But after that, I worked hard. I knew what I wanted in life. I knew where I was going. The stay that I had was going to expire in 2010. And then I got a job as an unqualified social worker in one of the local authorities. But because I had a teaching background and my English was quite good, my report writing was good, that local authority was actually paying for people to do the social work degree while they are working for them. And then I was one of the people they gave that opportunity. Then I did my degree in my BA honors in social work. And now I'm a qualified social worker. I'm a manager in one of the local authorities.
Have you been able to process your papers and do your naturalization?
Yes, I've done all that. Me and my daughter.
So you have just one daughter?
Yes, just one daughter.
Maybe you bring her to Ukraine one day.
Yes, I'm planning to come to Ukraine. I'll come with her.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, what are the changes you would like to highlight in your life, and especially from the messages? You can also be free to mention all the, when you started, all the messages that have affected your life. The series.
I really, honestly, sometimes I sit and think, and, I say to myself, what kind of a man is GSA?
Yeah, many people come around and say that DSA is not a human being, DSA is God in the flesh, DSA is Jesus, DSA is not human, is not normal, DSA is superhuman, DSA is this. But really, let me tell you the truth. Everybody can be a DSA and better. Everybody can be like that. That is what Christianity produces. And that is what Christianity is supposed to produce for every Christian. Every Christian is supposed to be like that. But because what we have been introduced to is not Christianity, what we've been introduced to is religion, is Christian religion, and it is paganism and syncretism. But we think it is Christianity. We think that is Christianity, but it is not Christianity. Now you are getting in touch with Christianity, and that's why you are getting all this shock that, is it true? Can a human being be walking like this? Can somebody be like this? Really? Every Christian is supposed to be like that.
For me, I just looked, when I went to the YouTube, I looked at the series. I realized that DSA is a school It's the whole package. It's I mean, it's a school from kindergarten to university, really. It's everything that you need in life. Because what I was used to in the church is one-sided message. Again, I'm not sure that message actually it's not even a true message. It's about the spirit of God, about the spiritual. But DSA has messages on every aspect of life. But the first thing really that touched me was the personal relationship with God. I've always wanted to know God more. And this is why I stayed in Christ Embassy from 2006 until I left the church. I've been in Christ Embassy because I didn't believe it's about a building. I didn't believe it's about a particular ministry. My belief is about God. So when people leave this church and go to another church, I'll be asking myself, what for? Because if your focus is on God, then you should know that you have God inside you. You don't have to run to this church or that church or this church is better. I didn't know anything about Redeem or any other church until I joined the DSA family, where I'm seeing all these videos about other churches. All I had known is Christ Embassy. Why? Because my focus is on God. But obviously the distortion to that was I thought God, I thought to know God is to go to church, to go to a church building. So my attendance in church was like, I thought one of the characteristics of being a Christian is to go to church, until I met the DSA messages that I have to build a personal relationship with God. And that really gave me comfort, because I know that as long as I have God, I have that relationship with God, and I know God, nothing out there, I don't need anything out there. All I need is that personal relationship with God. And when I went to the messages, the very first series on love really broke me down. I cried when I listened to that series, because that has been really my issue with the church, where I'm thinking people come to church, a lot of people come to church, they're heartbroken, they're going through a lot. The one thing they need is love. One thing they need is peace. But the church makes it worse for them. You go into a church, people are in groups, people already know each other. And actually, when I was in Christ Embassy, the branch that I was in, I used to see a lot of people coming to church 1 week, 2 weeks, then they disappear. Then again, another group of people come to, some will just come once and then they go. You try to follow them up, they don't pick up the calls, or they tell you one story or the other. But when I listened to that series, I realized that this could have been due to love. No love in church. I experienced that, but because I'm quite outspoken, even though there's the spiritual part of it, but when something is wrong, I hate injustice. Anything that puts me into kind of, being abused, basically. When I can see someone's actually abusing me or taking advantage of somebody, it hurts me. Because when I grew up, my dad was a chief. So I saw how he related with people. He related with people from different angles, from different backgrounds. And I could see that he was more of people that really needed help. People who were suffering, people who needed something. But he was more of serving people. That's what I was used to. But when I got into the church, when I got to Christ Embassy Church, I realized that it was the other way around. So people need to serve pastors. You need to do this for them. You need to give them this. It's their birthdays. And your birthday is not even remembered. So that, even though I kept on going to church, that was an issue that I saw something was wrong. And I knew God cannot allow this. He can't allow people to be just, being abused, being taken advantage of. But obviously I didn't see other things like the money issue, giving. I didn't see that was part of it. I saw clearly in terms of love, I did see that, and that for me was really a big issue. So when I listened to that series, I broke down. My mindset, about people changed. How I see people, how I have to relate to people. And DSA also, taught about people being the same in the eyes of God. There's no one who is up there, there's no one who is more anointed, there's no one who is better than the other. So that series really taught me a lot. I can see the way I relate with people now is quite different. I can talk to anyone, I can relate to anyone, and my friendship on Facebook increased because if anyone requests my friendship, I accept it because it's a human being, it's a person. And also, life is predictable. That series, it just really changed my mind about how I do things, because I was used to anytime I feel like I need something, I have to go and give a seed to church. Anytime I wanted something, or when I felt like, something is not going right, I need a miracle, or I need to get something done. Or I thought, because that's what I was taught. I thought I have to give something. I have to go and put some envelope on the altar to get that thing done.
Are you serious?
Yes.
All the deception.
Because that's what.
All the deception.
All the deception. Actually, I used to use Psalm 126. I think it's Psalm 126, which talks about those who sow their seed. I think it talks about sowing a seed.
Yes.
And you reap. Yes. So anytime because in the church you're taught different seeds, so different types of seeds, and what actually they are for. You're taught there's Thanksgiving seed when you want to thank God for something He has done. You have tithes. You give tithes is the kind of your insurance. When you give tithes, you are assured that nothing bad can happen in life because you are paying tithes. It's like an insurance. Actually, they call it an insurance in some of the church. In Christ Embassy, they call it an insurance. So you don't have to pay any insurance out there. Your insurance is the tithe. You have to pay the tithe. Yes. Yes.
Deception by excellence. Deception by excellence.
Yes. So, when I listened to Life is Predictable, I was like, wow. But I do these things, but then I don't amplify them because I have to be seen as it's God doing all these things. It's the word of the man of God. It's not me. I can't do it. I don't have that power. But Life is Predictable actually taught me that everything I need is inside me. I have to do things. I have to apply processes. I have to, I have to learn. If I need something, I have to research on that thing. I have to get the ideas. I have to use the right principles. And also,
so you have to take charge of your life.
Yes, I have to take charge of my life.
But what were you doing? What were you doing before? You thought your life, God had to do everything for you, or what?
Well, yes, everything. I thought everything. I have to pray. I have to pray. I have to sow a seed. Even if I'm doing something practical, I didn't believe it was me. It was the Spirit of God somehow, somewhere, which is, making me to do those things. And then, obvious, what I noticed as well, and this is, the church is so distorted. The whole doctrine is just something else. Because in the church that I used to go to, year in, year out, I noticed that it was just maybe the 2 or 3 few people who will be giving testimonies, and those egocentric testimonies. I was one of them giving those testimonies, but then I didn't realize that I had actually, I had been doing quite a lot. I'm very diligent in my work. I will research things. I will do things for myself. But when I went to church, that mindset kind of came off. It is the Spirit of God. Or yesterday I prayed about this, or Pastor preached this message. I took that message, I meditated on that message, and then the miracle came.
But you will not tell them that it's because you have been diligent, you've been working hard. So you don't tell them the real thing that you are doing. You're going to give testimony and that it is spiritual, it is God doing it. And that is the deception these churches are using. And that those testimonies is not even a miracle, it's just the effort of people who are diligent, who are hardworking.
You can't, there is a way the church does these things. And when people, sometimes when we are on DSA platform and people are talking about how you have to study the Bible for yourself, I don't comment because I have been there. I mean, in Christ Embassy, DSA, you have messages, you have videos, you have to buy those messages. I have a massive box in this house which I need to go and dispose, full of messages, but all that is money. That is my own money and my ignorance, buying all those messages. From the 3rd of January, when I had the DSA messages, I took all those videos and DVDs, whatever it is, and I just put them in the box somewhere in this house. I don't know where they are. There is a way they will teach you things. They will not give you an opportunity even to go out there and look for something out there. In Christ Embassy, in those days, I'm not sure now, we're not allowed to listen to any other preachers. You cannot buy a message of another pastor. You cannot go to any crusade, or any other pastor who is preaching out there. Even if your friend or your family invites you, you can't go because you will carry somebody's message. The message is here. This is the message. This is what you need to do. So even with the testimonies, there is a way you need to give those testimonies. You have to make sure you mention the pastor, or you mention a message or something to do with pastor or to do with the church. You can't, because when you're talking of being diligent, then you're not being spiritual. You haven't got the Spirit of God in you. So then everybody, when they are giving their testimonies, you just have to, is the Spirit of God, or I prayed yesterday, the Spirit of God said I should do A, B, C, D. You cannot talk about being diligent. You can't talk about, about research or anything. It's not connected to church. That's what they will tell you. So when I started listening to DSA, and there's the message that the other message on that 3rd of January, the other message where I think the message that DSA had preached was about stop, be your own prophet, stop running after miracles. Again, when I saw that title, I said to myself, what kind of a pastor is this? Because what we have been taught is to go to church and get a miracle. And this pastor is saying, be your own prophet, stop running after miracles. I said to myself, well, how on earth can I be a prophet? Because a prophet is anointed. They have special anointing from, from above. So I went to that message and I started listening. Then I thought, wow, this is reality. This is real. You can't just be living. I mean, in those churches, it's so illusional. It's like you're living in another world where you're meant to kind of think there are no issues, there are no problems. There are no problems in the world. Even if you can see something is going on, you need to do something about it. Maybe you have all these debts, you need to pay some money. But then you're told, oh, God has already done it. You don't have to do anything. All you need to do is to pray. If it's a letter you haven't paid somebody, or you haven't paid a company, they need their money, they're running after you, or you're told, or you just put that letter on the floor and just pray over the letter, that debt will go.
Witchcraft.
It's, I mean, there's a, it's just.
So what did that series, Life is Predictable, what are the main things it taught you?
The main things that touched me in that series is when DSA spoke about principles, processes. If you want to do something, you have to sit and think about that thing. How am I going to do it? Start asking yourself questions. How am I going to do this? What do I need to get this?
Principles and processes. Principles and processes. Beautiful.
Yes. And then I started, I thought to myself, oh, this is real, because when you look at children in school, that's why they go from one level to another, because you have to read, you have to pass. You can't just sit there and think you're going to have A stars or you're going to have A plus because you've been praying. It doesn't work like that. You have to read. You have to do something. And I started telling my daughter, look, you're not going to pass just by praying, going to some crusades, and someone telling you, oh, you have to put God first. You have to read. That is reality. If I want a degree today, if I want to change my job today, I need to understand what that job entails. What do they require in that job? What skills do they want? How can I get those skills? How can I improve myself? So we have to be realistic. We have to be real, which is not what the church is teaching. And this is why a lot of people in the church are suffering, because they are not being taught those processes. No one is talking about principles. No one is saying, everything people are told is to pray. Pray and fast. Pray and fast. Which, when I started listening to DSA messages, I thought, wow, this praying and fasting is just an illusion. And when I listened to the Kingdom series, that series blew my mind. I knew the African church was a joke. I knew what we are doing in the church is just, it has nothing to do with God. When I listened to the testimonies by people like Pastor Derek and all the ladies in Ukraine, how they are taking the whole world for God, how they are, how they're taking their sphere of influence, how they're impacting lives on a massive scale, I knew something was wrong in the church. Because when the church is telling you to, when they are telling you to touch lives, what they are talking about is for you to go out there, win souls, lead them to Christ, let them repeat a prayer, and bring them to church. So you can't just say you met someone yesterday, you led them to Christ without bringing them to church. Then you're not serious, you're lying. You have to bring them to church. You have to get some prizes for you for bringing someone to church. The church building has to be filled with people. I did that for some time, but before I even started listening to DSA, I got to a point where I realized something is wrong, because I'm bringing these people to church, but actually what are they getting? Nothing is changing in their lives. So I stopped going out there to evangelize. When they call evangelism, I stopped going there. And the more people demanded money, I would give that money because I was working, not because I had a lot of money. But every time, because they will tell you that money comes from God. So when you're planning, when you get your salary and you're planning, all your plans should include the church. You have to give for A, B, C, D. You have to give for that. And then I started thinking, I can't be inviting people out there. People need help. Now, if they're going to come to church and they'll be expected to give A, B, C, D, that is going to make them feel uncomfortable. So I stopped going out there to evangelize, to bring people to church.
So what are the lessons you got from the kingdom?
Lessons I got from the kingdom service. When I listened to the kingdom service, I formed 2 WhatsApp groups, one for my family, my younger sisters, two of my younger sisters and my little brother, and my cousins. I started talking to them about the DSA messages. I also formed a group for some other people, my friends. Some of them we were in the same church and they come from Zimbabwe. Most of them are Zimbabweans. They've all left the church. I started sharing that message with them. And because I love children, I love to develop people. And then I spoke to my younger sister, who is a teacher back home, to get some children who need school fees in their secondary school. And I got 4 children this year to pay for their school fees. But I had already been paying for my sister's children, obviously their family. But I just wanted to touch lives. As I listened to GSA, I thought there's a lot out there to be done. There are people suffering out there. I don't have much, but the little I have to touch lives. Then I also, there are so many women, especially in the UK, who are really suffering domestic violence. Some of them, I had met some women from the other local authority I was working for, and some of them through friends. So I talked to them on one-to-one. There was a woman from, I think the woman was from Kenya. She was living with the husband, and all of a sudden the husband was not coming home. The husband was beating her. And then I visited her to her home. One of my friends told me about her. I visited her to her home. I took Who Am I, GSA's book, Where Am I? Why Am I Here? I shared that, the message in that book with her. I told her, God loved her and ministered to her basically, and told her what she needed to do. If this relationship wasn't working, I'm here today. It's all about God. When you have the Spirit of God in you, there's nothing else out there you would want. God is everything. I'm doing what I need to do each and every day. It is possible. A lot of women are scared to come out of abusive marriages because of embarrassment, because of the stigma. They don't want people to laugh at them, to say they are single mothers. So I use my own experience. My daughter was only 5 years old when my marriage broke up. But today she's 17. I stayed with her. She's a good girl. I've never had issues with her. And I'm doing what I'm doing. I got my degree after that marriage had broken up. All you need to do in life is work hard and obviously have that personal relationship with God and do what you need to do. Learn from those who are doing well. Don't be embarrassed to ask for help if you need it. So I have been doing that a lot, and between last year, August, up to now, I've actually helped about 4 women from different countries. 2 of them are Asians. One woman is from Kenya, the other one is from Namibia. I can't remember where she comes from. So, just to check on them, especially where they are kids, because the UK system and children is quite tough. A lot of people end up having their children into the care system, which is not the best. I have looked into that. Yes, children will be safe, but a child really needs to be with their family. They need to be with their parents. There's no other place that could be better for a child.
So the Kingdom series inspired you to begin to do that?
Yes, it did. because I heard how Pastor Derek is doing quite a lot of work. You know, he's doing his own History Makers programs to teach people to know, you know, to come to kind of understand who they are, to find their purpose. So that kingdom, I knew there was, you know, nothing was impossible. It doesn't matter where you are, God can use anyone. It's not really about being anointed, or there are some people who are anointed out there who can be used by God. Anyone, God can use anyone. So that alone really, you know, inspired me. That series really inspired me a lot. And I started thinking of all these testimonies that we give in the African church. I just knew this is a job, because everybody's telling us how they got a job yesterday, or how they got promotion, or how actually the real testimony is to go out there and impact lives, and touch lives, change lives. You know, help people. There are so many people out there who are suffering. And if you have a way, or if you have anything that you can touch that life, then go ahead, go and do it.
After the Kingdom series, what other series did you do?
The Truth series. The Truth series really is. I never really thought about the truth, even though I'm that kind of a person who will try by all means to do what I need to just to be myself in life, not to get things, you know, out of deceiving someone. I need to do this. I just have to be truthful. But that series really left me thinking, you know, I have to be truthful to myself all the time for me to be able to work with people, for me to be able to help others out there. Because if I don't know the truth, there is no way, you know, I will expect other people to be truthful, or to do things, to do the right thing, without me looking into myself, checking, you know, what do I have? What can I offer? Because if you haven't got the truth, you can't. There's nothing you can offer others. You need to be truthful yourself. You need to learn about the truth. You need to understand the truth before you can question others out there. So that series really kind of left me really being a different person, being somebody else, being, you know, it kind of joined together with the Plague of Silence. Because when JSA taught that Truth series, either I started with the Plague of Silence and then went on to the Truth series. So those two series, I kind of put them together, that when something is going wrong, I have to speak up. I have to notice that something is wrong. And when you actually realize that something is wrong, you can actually, it also prompts you to come up with a solution, because you can recognize that something is wrong. It means there is something right to it. You need to put things together to make it right. So TSA's messages, it's just, for me, all I think of is just how I can help somebody, how I can do something for someone just to change their life. Because and I've also noticed that I kind of see things that when something is wrong, I'm actually the first one to pick it up. And when I notice that something is wrong, God kind of put an idea as well on how I can change that thing to be the right thing.
So what are the kingdom fruits that you've been able to produce? Say them again. I know you've mentioned some, but can you say them again? Your kingdom fruits.
Okay, so I have two WhatsApp groups. one for my family and one for the other people, friends, where I share DSA's messages. I write some articles to review some of the messages that have inspired me, messages inspired me, or sometimes I listen, because I always listen to DSA's messages every minute when I'm on the train, wherever I am, I'm listening to DSA, in the house, wherever I am. So when I listen to any message and I just kind of feel, oh, this will help someone today, not tomorrow or any other day, then I write an article, a short article, just kind of reviewing that message, and then I send it to the groups. I've also sent some kids to school this year. I started this year with I'm not paying any tithes to anyone anymore. So I've opened an account to put my tithes every week. I put my tithes, I transfer the money in there. So I have the money. I asked my younger sister to get me at least 3 children, orphans, who have lost their parents, because a lot of people that I know back home, some of the people I grew up with, they passed away because of HIV. So they've left children, and those kids need help. Some of them, they are not in school because there's no one in the family to pay for their school fees. So I got my sister to arrange for 4 of those kids so I can put them into school, into secondary school. Then I've also I also do a one-to-one a lot, like self-development. I use the GSA's messages, the thinking series, and those who win in life. I've noticed that a lot of people don't think. I was like that, because there's a way the church will teach you things. You can't question the things in the church. You can't question the spiritual things. You can't say anything. Even though I didn't grow up in a family where I'm not supposed to say what I want to say, my father was quite a good man, and he instilled a lot of values in me. So I would, talk to my dad, we would discuss things, and my dad there were no protocols. Even though he was a chief, he didn't have all those protocols that who speaks to him, who doesn't speak to him. My dad could speak to anyone. He could help anybody. But obviously, the church, I've noticed that in the church, you can't say a thing, you can't question, you can't ask a pastor any question. And a lot of people, that has actually made a lot of people not to think. Even in their workplaces, people no longer think. They don't want to research simple things that they have to do, but because they're not thinking, they're not looking for information, they're not questioning, they don't do anything about it. So I do quite a lot of one-to-one, and people will come up with situations. So I have this problem, then I will refer them to the messages, or I'll just go through them, what they need to do, basically, to resolve the situation. And obviously, those who win in life, is really, that message has really helped quite a lot of people around me in terms of the principles that GSA taught in that message. You have to be an upstart, you have to be in love with diligence. How do you do that? So I do that a lot. And then at my workplace, we have a Bible study every Wednesday. And I've started introducing DSA's messages in that Bible study. Actually, in these last few weeks, DSA is teaching about love. So in the evening, when we have the DSA's messages, if it's a Tuesday, or normally in that week, I would then share that message in the Bible study on Wednesday. And a lot of people have been asking, where do you get these revelations from? So then I give them the DSA's links to all the messages on YouTube and on Facebook, on Google.
On Google or SoundCloud?
Google, mainly Google, SoundCloud. Some people have to download SoundCloud. So usually I just tell them to Google Sunday at the Ledger, and they easily go in, or on YouTube. A lot of people in the UK, they're on YouTube. Then I'll show them how to go on the whole, like series by series. So if you just go search Sunday at the Ledger Official, then you can actually come up with all the series, all the messages according to services.
On YouTube?
Yes, on YouTube.
So what are the things so is it allowed to do Bible studies at work in the UK?
Yes, it is allowed because it's part of, and the borough that I work for is quite multicultural. So there are a lot of people from different ethnic groups. We actually have a Bible study room in my workplace. So those who want, even Muslims, they go in that room and do their prayers during their own time. So Christians also gather together to do their studies or their prayers. We actually do studies on Wednesday, and then on Fridays we just do prayers. But I use the Wednesday ones to share the messages with people.
And you also do one-on-one mentorship, right?
Yes.
What is that about?
I do.
Yeah, tell us about that.
So the one-to-one mentorship, a lot of people get stuck in life. And like I said, GSA is the whole package. So you mentioned it, if it's children, GSA has got messages on parenting. So for example, last week I was talking to a lady who I knew from when I used to go to church, but she left the church before me a long time. And one of her children is giving her a lot of problems. One of her daughters, she's always called in school, she's always... And then I was talking to her about... I referred her to DSA's series on parenting, because that parenting series has age groups. So from age 1 to 3, age 3 to 12, and age 12 to 15, I think it's 12 to 15, 15 to 17. So I was going through with her some of the things that she needs to do to help her daughter. Her daughter is about 10. I think she's about 10 or 11. So from DSA series on parenting, I was able to talk to her about some of the things that she needs to do, because the lady was also a bit scared that she has another child, a younger child, and if this child keeps on doing all these issues, giving her trouble in school, all the social services will get to be involved. And that's another thing that a lot of parents go through, especially parents from Africa, not understanding the legislation, not understanding how social services work in the UK. How do we get to a point, as social workers, how do we get to a point where we have to remove children from their parents? So I do that, it's like mentoring, making parents understand and the things that they need to do to avoid such situations. Because a lot of parents I've worked with, it's quite traumatic when their children are taken away. It's also kind of a stigma. So I do help parents to understand what things that they need to do, steps that they need to take to keep their children safe. And also, if social services are already involved, sometimes I get called by parents where social services are already involved. And because my job is, I'm a social worker by profession. So if social services is already involved, it becomes very difficult for parents to understand what they need to do to get those children back. Usually they would get the children back depending on the situation and depending on the incident. So social services will actually ask, they will put in some programs to work with them to get the kids back to them. But then as African parents, we don't want order. We don't like law and order. It's like, someone, why would you do this? I have my own power. I have my own way of doing things. But actually, you have to work together with social services to get those children back. So I do that work quite a lot. That piece of work a lot for them to understand what they need to do.
So then you said you started a WhatsApp group or 2 WhatsApp groups, right?
Yes.
One for your cousins?
One for my family, my youngest, my siblings and my cousins. And then the other one is just for people. Most of the people are from Zimbabwe. My friends, people that I know. I share GSA's messages on there because some of them, they don't really listen to GSA all the time like I do. They don't listen to some of the GSA messages. So I get those messages and send them on the group so they can hear, or some of the recorded messages, because I have gone to most of the recorded messages, and I'll get those recorded messages and share them with them, and also write some short articles on some of the messages and share on that group.
So since you started listening and you stopped going to Christ Embassy, what do you think? How will you describe your life in a nutshell?
Peace is one thing.
Peace? What? How come peace?
Peace, and I'm more closer to God, and also to hearing from God, and just living my life, planning things for myself, thinking, knowing what to do. Because when I was in the church, it's like my life belonged to the church. Everything I do is about church. Church basically, I was forced to prioritize church. So even if I have things that I need to do, which I know I must do, and to make my life easy, or to get some results for myself, I can't do those things because there's no time. I have to make sure the church programs, anything to do with church has been sorted, has been done, before I can do my own things. So actually, there is this scripture that they use a lot in Christ Embassy. You have to seek the kingdom of God first and His righteousness. Now, when I heard GSA teaching, explaining that scripture, I was really shocked, because in church, that scripture refers to, if there's a church program, you have to make sure you go to that program. You seek ye the kingdom of God first. That's you are seeking the kingdom by making sure the church things, anything to do with church, is done. Not your own things, your own programs are not a priority. It is the church things that are a priority. So when I stopped going to church, all those things came out of my mind. I started doing my own things. I listened to GSS messages. I write the articles. I plan my own life, not someone else planning life for me.
How is your finances afterwards?
Wow. I started saving. Actually, I haven't finished listening to the series on finances, but the first few messages on that series, I think Pastor Joshua was reviewing the book on one of the messages. That alone, just that message where Pastor Joshua was reviewing A Man Won't Make You Rich, just turned my mind around. The way I'm using my finances, the way I have to do things, I can't just use my money anyhow. I have to save. And one of the series, I think JSA was talking about, saving money. He's talking about, where you have, or sometimes you think you haven't got enough money to save. It's something to do with saving. I actually followed that series, and when I listened to that series, I knew I have to save my money. I can't just give my money anyhow. There must be a purpose for me to use my money. Every month I have to save my money. So it's been amazing, and because I don't just have to give because someone is talking about giving, I don't.
So your finances are better for you and your...
Yes, better off than when I was in the church. In fact, when I was in the church, every month I was never left with money. GSA, I never even had money to spend or to just if I want something, really I want something. I didn't have that kind of money. Sometimes my mom would be calling me, they need some money back home, and I wouldn't have that money. But I would have given money to church. So, GSA is the whole package, like I said at the beginning, is the whole package. So GSA has saved my life a lot than I would have thought. I've been in the church for years, since 2006 to 2016, that's like 10 years. But just within a year, I started listening to GSA. Everything about my life is changed. I
don't have anything to do with it. I think they are just the teachings.
Their teachings, GSA. Honestly, I
never met you. I never spoke to you. Just the teachings. So I don't have anything to do with it.
There are people out there who doubts whether they should listen to GSA. And there are people out there who have actually listened to GSA's messages. And somehow, along the way, they just stopped for one reason or the other, which I think most people is the understanding. And probably they don't understand where GSA is coming from and where GSA is going. And then when they get to that point, they just stop. I would encourage those people to go back and start listening to the messages again over and over, because there is something in those messages. They are life-changing messages, and it's not, I don't even know how to describe this, because GSA has put those messages out for people to use them. They're so practical, they're so real. There are things that you don't need anyone to explain to you. There are messages that you just listen and your eyes just to open. I have heard people saying, "Oh, I've been listening to GSA. Actually, I come from Nigeria. You don't come from Nigeria. I come from Nigeria. I know this man. I've listened to his messages." And I say to them, if you have listened to GSA's messages, you wouldn't be where you are. You wouldn't be talking the way you are talking. Clearly, you haven't. Because when you listen, even if it's one message you listen, one GSA message you listen, you cannot remain the same. You can't just be the same person. Something will just happen to you. And one thing that really amazes me is people don't need to see you, they don't need to meet with you just to go to those messages. It's like, I have known you for years. It's like I've known you it's like I've spoken to you before. Just your messages, they minister. It's not even minister, they teach a lot. There's a lot of teaching in each and every one of those messages. And just to prove all this, when you go to all those messages, every message is different. Every message has something. Every day when you're coming to teach, you're teaching something different, and that is what makes it different from all, from pastors, really, from just pastors. Because the message I had all the years I've been in church, you go to church, all the message I hear is about the spiritual, about the Bible, and reading the scriptures. But GSA comes up with a message every single day, different messages every day. And that for me alone is, I know that there's something about it. And you can't doubt it.
Wow. Beautiful. So what would you like to say to people who are watching you right now, or who have not, who are, you know, who are listening to you? Yeah.
I would really like to encourage people, especially people who love the truth, because the reason why a lot of people castigate DSA today, or they end up not listening to DSA, they will say all kind of horrible things, is because they don't love the truth, or because they don't know the truth. Because the majority of people really don't like the truth. People just like to be told what they want to hear. But for those who love the truth and who want to really touch lives out there, to improve their own lives, I will encourage you to go and listen to any of the DSA messages. Any message that you come across that was preached by DSA, or the books, or anything that has to do with DSA, just go ahead and listen to those messages, because your life will never remain the same. Your life will just change. Something will happen. You cannot just be there and, you know, and just listening. You will do something about it, because the messages are so practical. So I really encourage people, and I do get a lot of calls, people calling me and asking me, oh, you know, we think you are a genuine Christian. Can you tell, especially when DSA was teaching about syncretism in the church, is your church a cult? And people will call me and say, look, do you know, because we've seen your profile, we've seen your page, you look like a good Christian. Do you believe in what DSA is doing? Do you believe in DSA talking about other pastors? And I say, emphatically, yes, I believe. Then they'll say, oh, you believe, so you believe what he's saying about Pastor Chris? I said, yes, I believe him. I believe what he's saying because I've seen it, I've experienced it, and I know what he is saying is the truth. There's nothing that he is saying that is not true. Everything is true. So I will encourage everybody. I mean, the messages looks like, as people think, oh, DSA is insulting other pastors. But when you sit back and listen, and you will actually get the message from what DSA is saying. Especially if you have been in a Pentecostal church and you have experienced some things, the deception that is in the church, there is no way you will listen to those messages that DSA is preaching and not believe what he's saying. You won't even need anyone to explain to you. You don't need anybody to explain. You will know this is the truth. What DSA is saying is what it is. And because people are so used to be diplomatic, they want somebody to try, but so hard to try and, you know, not really say things as they are, to try and please them. But I don't struggle with DSA's messages, because I don't do that diplomacy. If something is wrong, it's wrong. Because when you try to say something in another way, people will misunderstand what you're trying to put across. So you would rather say something as it is for people to get the message. And if they need to change, they have to change. So I really encourage people to go back and listen to those messages. It's not just one message. It's any part of your life, anything that you need. And that is the beautiful part of it, because you're not just focusing on the spiritual that you can't even see. You don't even know whether it's actually happening or not happening. But DSA's messages, it's real. The reality is practical. It's talking about love. How do you love people? How do you show love to people? It's giving you the steps on how to do it. So it's not just saying go in one corner and pray and fast, and then the next minute you will love people. It doesn't make sense to anyone. DSA's messages makes so much sense, and this is where the church has missed it, because the church is telling you, oh, everything is spiritual, the things of the spirit are foolish in the eyes of men. So you don't question, don't investigate, don't ask questions, because you will not understand the things of the spirit. Wow, is it not the same spirit that created us? Why wouldn't we understand? Why are we not allowed to understand the things of the spirit? If we are living and being and being human beings, really, why are we not allowed to understand what is happening? So I know a lot of people come to the platform and still they go back and do the same thing they've been doing. Why they are coming to the platform, I don't know. Because when people are doing things on the platform, I don't normally respond to those things. Even sometimes I see a lot of posts, like today I think I saw some posts saying, DSA has 5 billion but he's still selling his books. I don't comment on those things because DSA will only be vindicated by God. There's no way I can stand. There's nothing I can explain to anybody who doesn't want to listen or doesn't want to understand that will make them understand. What DSA is doing is the truth. It is what it is. No matter what someone says. So that's why I don't comment on those things to try and say, oh, I'm defending DSA, because I know I cannot. There's nothing I can do to defend DSA. DSA is already, his message speaks for themselves. The evidence is there for everyone to see. So there's no need to stand for him or to try and defend. It's clear to anybody. And I just want to encourage the DSA family and all those who want to join the DSA family that this is real. This is what it is. We just have to move forward. It's not time to back down. It's no time to look back. This is real. We're moving forward to change the world, to change the church.
Beautiful. 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 That is J. Munsaka. You have landed. That's the way your Nigerian people say, landed. She has landed. Thank you so very much. You did so very well. You are going to enjoy hearing yourself by the time you listen to this again. You have helped a lot of people today. But in 30 minutes time we are coming back. We need to come back to do to continue the love series. So look forward and hope to see you in 30 minutes time. Everybody, God bless you guys. Bye.